Welcome back, everybody. Tis I, your host, Pat Flynn, joined once again by legendary strength coach, according to Men's Health Magazine and many others, Dan John. We're going to talk about ladder training. Should you train with ladders? If so, how? And what if you're afraid of heights? I see the comedians have already entered the chat, Dan. We're not talking about that kind of ladder.
Oh, I tell you, some high level humor. Yes. Good morning.
So before we dive into it, Dan, good morning. How has your training been going? And
Good.
yeah, all that.
We had some people. Sometimes a day like Memorial Day, and hats off to General Logan for he saw what was going on after the Civil War. A lot of the people started decorating graves, and it was General Logan who said, "Let's make this an event." So, and it is for the dead. It is for the
That's right.
Yeah, and it's not for what all the things I read yesterday that people don't seem to understand. But good. We had a nice workout. A lot of people showed up because they have the day off, and they rolled out of bed. Weather has been gorgeous here in beautiful Murray. We keep getting rain. The mountains are this color that we have never seen before, green. We don't know what to do.
So lush.
Yeah, so it's very nice. Trains well, lots of presses. You probably see that it's hard for me to fit my shoulders in.
Yeah, I had to widen the screen a bit.
Yeah, things are good. I've got this kiddie pool that I use to. I don't necessarily think. I mean, ice bath is fine and good for you if you do it, but I always like to have either a shower or a kiddie pool in my backyard, because if I do yard work, man, you just get so hot here. This year, the kiddie pool is being used for kitties, so it's been very nice. It's very
nice.
Very unusual. It's no longer a therapeutic $50 therapeutic buy from Costco. Things are good. Lots of
good. Great. Always good to get those updates. So ladders, let's talk about this a little bit. There's many ways of training with ladders. And you've got your traditional, hey, let's just go up the reps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or however high we want to go. You have reverse ladders. I guess pyramids are a type of ladder, but maybe not, because they're called pyramids and not ladders.
Yeah.
So why don't we start general, and then we'll get specific, Dan.
I mean, there's no real tradition on this, but when generally, like you just said very well, when people say pyramids, you're going less reps as you go heavier. So you do a set of 5, you go heavier, do a set of 4, go heavier, do a set of 3. Ladders, when we're talking about it, is where you take a weight and a couple of things. In your book, the paleo book, you talk a lot about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ladder, which is good, except in my knock on it, it's 15 reps, which is a lot of reps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 30. I mean, okay, I'm not doing a math thing. I'm just trying to explain. And that's why one of the reasons I went to 2, 3, 5 is now we're down to 10 reps, which is a little bit easier to make decisions with.
Yes. Yeah.
And then for hypertrophy, I do 2, 3, 5, 10.
Great.
2, 3, 5, 10.
Well, let's pause, and that's a great practical point. So for strength, Dan John likes 2, 3, 5. For hypertrophy, 2, 3, 5, 10. Done. Episode finished. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about that 10 is that we're going to get 1,000 questions about what percent do you need and what should. I got no idea. But that 10, if I'm doing 2, 3, 5, 10 on presses, a good weight for me is the 20s. Now I can do the 20s for a long time, which is the idea. So if I get a set of 10 with the 20s, I've the first time through, I'm pretty sure I probably could just keep going. And I mean, with the 20s, I can go a long ways. I can seesaw walk the 20s a long way. But after that set of 10, I rest for just a few seconds, because 2 is nothing with the 20s. I do the set of 2. If I can do the 2, I can do the 3. I do the set of 3. Let's just get through this, do the set of 5. Very little rest after the 10, the 2, the 3, and the 5. after the 5, because you have to kind of, you'll know. I got to get myself ready for the 10. And after just a few rounds, the 10 becomes a perfect weight.
Yes, right.
The weight doesn't change, but the accumulation of fatigue makes the weight appropriate.
That's right.
If you do 5 rounds of 2, 3, 5, 10, you're looking at 100 reps, which is a pretty good hypertrophy workout. I mean, you can do it with 10 sets of 10, which is just fine. But 2, 3, 5, 10 seems a lot more forgiving and doable and repeatable.
Yeah.
When people ask me about, whenever I talk about anything on my podcast, I get 1,000 questions, which honestly, I barely understand any of them sometimes. But, if you do double press with kettlebells and double kettlebell front squat, 2, 3, 5, 10, and man, you do that once every 2 weeks, you do 5 rounds of that, your hypertrophy needs are going to be kind of to the forefront. Your body's going to figure out to grow, march or die. Grow.
That's right. You'll be an able-bodied individual for sure. So this is really good. By the way, real quick, gentle listeners, we're on another sort of time crunched episode. So in a couple minutes, I want to make sure we do Q&A today. So I already see some good stuff. Slide your questions in now. We'll turn to those in a few minutes here. Dan has already put us into action mode with specifics. I really like this. And I'm like you, Dan. I've sort of evolved in my thinking on ladders. I really don't do I still think there's value in the 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you're right. It's like there's something just more practical and something that's more to the point, if you will, about the 2, 3, 5 and the 2, 3, 5, 10. So totally with you. And the spacing between the sets, you're right. You can move kind of pretty quickly those first, but they're still useful. And then, when you're on to those later rounds, I really like the addition of the set of 10. I know exactly. It's one of those things where once you kind of experience it, the light bulb goes on. This does make a lot of sense. This is groovy. So yeah, please continue.
With my high school athletes, one thing we did. So when you're working with a teenager, you're dealing with more, there's just a lot going on. I mean, you do have an athlete that's going to change shirt sizes in a year. The inseam is going to grow. You're gonna see athletes literally growing in front of you, not because of your brilliant training, because of puberty. So you've got a 5'6" kid as a freshman who's 6 foot as a senior. So things change. So you have to have more tools in the toolbox. A good one that a lot of you could probably do is 1, 2, 3, but you can do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 with one weight. So here's just a little jazz for you, but you do 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3 with 135. Jump up to 165, 1, 2, 3. Jump up to 185, 1, 2, 3. And you just keep bouncing those reps, or you can even do a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, jump weight, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, jump weight. But what we found with that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 is that they were getting all those additional reps. So that 1 and that 2, the only one that really counted was the 3. But I do 1, you do 1, Charlie does 1.
Yeah.
I do 2, you do 2, you do 2. Is that we're practicing the lift. And with the teenage athlete and the younger trainer, you need more reps to really get where you need to be.
Yeah.
I understand the value and I understand the draw of that high intensity one set to failure. But the problem is, it's real hard for the body to pick up in one set. One set of 9, done a couple times a week might not be enough reps, I think, to kind of teach the body so you want to be as efficient as you can with as many reps as you can with as much load as you can.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing a set of 25 front squats with 661 pounds, which is 300 kilos, there's a good chance you're going to be a big, strong guy. But to get there, you had to do a lot of work to get to this. I'm making this up, folks. A set of 25 with 661, 300 kilos in the front squat you need to have your wrists, your elbows, your shoulders, your spinal erectors have to be freakishly strong. Muscles
Mhm.
around your knees have to really be locked and loaded. Your feet will get exhausted when you do this lift because you'll be grabbing the ground so hard. So I think you need, I'm not saying garbage reps at all. I don't mean that. You need a lot of practice before you. So 1, 2, 3, add weight. 1, 2, 3, add weight. That 1 and that 2 are kind of setting the system up.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I think that is the best part. There's two things about ladders I like. You can really get a lot of work in less time. It's great for density, and then the second big one is it's very good for kind of instruction, if you will.
Practice.
Practice.
It's great. Yeah, that's right. Should you use ladders? Yes. Great for efficiency, great for practice. And Dan already gave us um, two exercises that are well suited for ladders. You said the double clean and press, and the front squat, especially for hypertrophy. 2, 3, 5, 10 was a scheme. If you just want to focus more on strength, then 2, 3, 5 is sufficient. Before we turn to questions, Dan, where do you think ladders are maybe ill suited? Do you think that there's instances where people were sort of using ladder style training when, yeah, maybe this isn't the best approach, or there are other exercises you think are worth considering?
That's
Yeah.
yeah. One of the things about ladders is that, no, pardon me. If you're like an athlete like if you're an athlete, ladders can be good, but they really quickly lose their value for the same reasons that they're so good.
Mm.
Once you start to get into that early preseason, uh, the, that volume of work, that all the blessings of ladders, that's nice. Put it on the shelf. We're done. We don't need it anymore. Speaking of athletes, the college I coach at, Westminster, we sent 3 athletes to the nationals, and we got 3 All-Americans coming home. I don't
Woo!
know of a program that's ever got 100% All-American. I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but I thought it was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Emily, my thrower, is an All-American. My javelin thrower is an All-American, and one of the best prospects. I'm very.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was a nice couple of days. The only thing I would complain is that they did have a 3-hour lightning delay during the event. So before Emily got a chance to take her last throw, she had to wait for 3 hours. She came back and she threw a good throw, but I mean the discus is an aerodynamic object, and having to wait that long. So bless her. I just want to tell that.
That's great. That's super.
Yeah,
Cool.
it makes. But this little tiny Westminster college, we don't have a track, we don't have a field, we don't have any facilities. I get yelled at by somebody for having my athletes throw balls into a wall. I mean, we're able to overcome it, and here you go. So,
there you go. Proof is in the pudding until it's there. Dan, what about ladder style training for the ballistics, snatches, and stuff like that? Do you see
the thing? Well, so I gave advice to somebody about doing a form of it. So everyone loves now every minute on the minute, but I like this a little bit better.
See our episode, what was that, 2 episodes ago, we talked about on the clock workouts, I think. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's great, but if you're going to use this idea, try something like this. When the second hand hits the 12 every minute on the minute, okay, do like 15 swings. When it hits the 6, 30 seconds later, do 10. So have a little variation in there. If you're doing ballistic work, I think it's better to come down in reps, not go up. So that's why when I teach the snatch test, we do 20, 20, 20, 15, 15, 10, 10,
Yeah.
5, 5. And it's weird because my success rate on people who follow and work with me is 100% at the RKCs and the Strong First too. They always pass the snatch test because of that. And these other people do this thing where they do.
And you're keeping the weight the same with that, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And look, that's a good general rule for ladders. Is like, that's a good general rule for anything. Like, do the hardest stuff first, right? Like don't go up in reps with the same weight if you're doing ladders, because you're going to be less fresh in technique. And same thing if you're increasing weight. This is where the idea of, I guess, the reverse pyramid training comes in, is like do the heavier sets first, right? And then right, and that's good. That's good policy,
And that's a
right?
very popular thing in this different kind of Martin Burkham, Greg O'Gallagher. It's reverse pyramid training.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very bodybuilding specific thing. It combines, Arthur Jones, Ellington Darden's, Mike Metzger's, the old Mike Metzger joke. He was the high intensity. He was the guy who complained about not being Mr. Olympia, but whatever,
Yeah, me too. I complain about that every day to my wife.
Yeah, he went
Can
to
you believe it, Christine?
Yeah, he went to St. Andrews golf, and 36 holes, lined up, hit his driver 300 yards, perfect shot right down the middle. And he walked away and he said, "Yeah, I'm done." And so that's the joke, because he, won 36 hole golf course. You just hit it once and you're fine. Okay, haha. It was funnier back in the day when he was famous. But yeah, so this idea, you really push it hard, you light everything up. But Burkham and O'Gallagher and those, they also believe that then after that you get those pump sets in, or whatever.
Yeah. So you do the heavy low rep strength sets first, then you do your pump sets after, right? Yeah.
And that's this.
And you get pumped.
You get pumped. And we could sit here for hours and just throwing out schemes, but let me just give you this basically. 2-3-5 on strength moves, I think, is good. Hypertrophy, 2-3-5-10. And then on the ballistics, I gave you 20, 15, 10, 5. For most of the time, no, 15, 10, 15, 10, 15, 10.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, there you have it, into listeners. Yeah. Your plan of action. It awaits. Go forth and use it and get awesome results. Let's take some questions here. I want to squeeze a couple in before we have to split. All right, I'll just take them in no particular order. Jim John says, what are your thoughts on doing warm-ups and cool-downs when you're just doing low weight, low rep, greasing the groove type of stuff? So say you're taking movement snacks throughout the day, Dan. Maybe you're practicing pressing or pull-ups or something like that. Do you think people should warm up a bit before doing a little bit of this stuff?
I think my cousin Jim here is
makes great sandwiches, by the way.
Yes, he does. It's phenomenal. Yes. Too much bread for me.
It's bready, isn't it? Yeah, you can get the lettuce wraps there, though. They're actually not terrible.
But so
we are looking for sponsors.
Even in easy strength, Jim, I do think that a lot of people still need those warm-ups, those grease the grooves. I still think that's true. We have to be careful sometimes, because when I started doing easy strength, gosh, what was I, 40? Say I was 45 or something like that. Yeah, it would have been, I think it was 45. Yeah. And so I had 35 years of incline and deadlift, and I knew what to do. My body, there's like when I go to a gym and I see a piece of equipment I haven't used in decades, I still know how to do it. I mean, I haven't forgotten how to do a leg extension. Okay. But so it would be one of those things, Jim. It's a bit of a sliding scale, if you don't mind. And I'll say this, and this is a good piece of advice. If you think you need to do those extra light warm-ups, you are right. And afterwards, if you want to practice, you are right. So kind of go with, I hate to say gut, but well, that's actually, we're now arguing.
Yeah, I think that's totally right. And my thought is like, boy, it ain't gonna hurt nothing. It's probably gonna help a lot, right? And I don't know, maybe it's an age thing, maybe it's a wisdom thing, maybe it's both. But I take warm-ups a lot more seriously now than I certainly did 10 years ago. But same thing. Most people, even if you're relatively young, if you're sitting for 6 hours and you get up and you just go into a set of heavy presses, you're kind of asking for trouble, right? I mean, just take a few minutes and get the blood flowing and get the putty warm, so to speak. So unless my general rule is like, unless like you can't, which I don't understand. But then I would just say, if you literally have no time to do a 2-minute warm up, but only a 2-minute set, I would say just do a 2-minute warm up and not the set. Right?
Oh,
The mobility's probably more important than the presses for most of us long term, and then just save the heavy stuff for your main gym session. That
yeah.
would seem to be the more prudent move, right? Mhm.
Well, yesterday with Mike and TJ, I did. I mean, when TJ got there, the bar was empty, and both of us just did a set with the empty bar, 45 pounds, threw 10s on, we threw 5s on. So we went 45, 65, 75, 85, 95, 115. And then that's when we started kind of doing the workout.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of the way we train the Olympic lifts back at the Pacifica Barbell Club. We always started with 45, 65. Oh, I hated it, man. 88, 85, 95, 115, 135. And it was like, thank God, and then when 45, when I was snatching at Dick's gym, 255. Sorry, these are pounds, folks. And I'm not going to translate this very quickly. So I was still taking 135 for 3, 145 for 3, 155 for 3. By the time I got to the heavy lifts, I mean, I had done 30, 40 snatch or clean and jerks. And I look back at that now, I'm like, oh, that's insane. However, at the time, that's exactly what I needed.
Yes.
To the point that, I mean, I could not Olympic lift for years and then, hit the bar. Now, what did I do to my hair this morning?
It looks good, Dan. I think it looks good. Yeah.
Oh, you know what it
I
is?
do. I think
I got the light here, and it makes me look like I have a bald spot. All right.
So
sorry, folks. My vanity. Your name is Daniel.
So I always like having a general and specific warm up. Every morning, even before I have a warm up before I drink coffee. Maybe I'm just getting too old and fragile. I have a warm up before everything.
I'm too old for this. Yeah.
I do a lot of the original strength crawling stuff. Little Marin calls it horse because you can't crawl on the ground without toddlers jumping on your back, which is some nice added reason. Can we play horse? Right? Yeah, of course. We'll play horse, sure. And that's good. Shoot, like things just they can just go snap. So take warm up seriously. They important. Yeah. All right, let's do another question or two here. All right, boy, Anthony's got some big goals, Dan. Maybe we can help him out in like 2 minutes. He wants to get a half body weight press, a pistol, 200 rep snatch test. So would you recommend cycling the programming focus on each of these, or are they attainable
those 3 are attainable at the same time. Yeah, those. Yeah, in fact, that 200 rep snatch test, half body weight press. I mean, that is what this book
was. That the RKC2 for a while, Dan?
That's the test. That's where rite of passage enter the kettlebell.
Yeah. But wasn't that the level 2 test for a while? I don't know what the standards are these days.
I still think you should get a level 2 test.
Yeah.
I think there's honestly, the RKC2 weekend should be you press the beast, you snatch the 24K 200 times in 10 minutes. That's it. We're done. And then the rest of the time, I'm teaching windmills. I'm teaching bent press. I'm teaching I'm reteaching everything. We're going through all this stuff. Anthony Barbiero was there when I did the 200 snatches with the 24 and pressed the beast. Actually, I pressed 110 pounds, not the 106. I'm not bragging, just saying, because that's the bell we had. Yeah, I love that. I got to tell you though, it's tough. I mean, and I think you should be able to do that in half an hour. I mean, that was the old rule, half an hour.
Yeah. Well, it was 210 minutes, right? Isn't that supposed to be?
So, yeah. Well, no. So you have to press. You have to press the beast and get the 200 reps in the 10 minutes.
And then do all that in half hour.
All that. Now, I will say this.
I agree.
I just simply pressed the beast, put it down, walked over, and started the snatch test.
Yeah, why wait, right? Yeah.
Why? I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't going to have.
Let me take 10 minutes here. Yeah, just because go.
It wasn't. Yeah, we're not going dinner and dancing and hope to get lucky.
Right. Yeah.
Done with this damn thing. Yeah. So I think if you go to the Dan John University, just do the RKC prep. I mean, the RKC prep program that Mike and I put together is based on rite of passage. The only thing is, if I were you, I would try to do maybe 6 weeks of prepping up. Make sure you can do the 100 snatches in 5 minutes and press like a 24 or 32, and then drop out everything except, I mean, here's a simple thing to do. Just, and the rite of passage is ladders, but I would suggest doing the rite of passage for the clean and press, and then you have to snatch every single day, and you better fall in love with high rep snatches, man. That's where we came up with the idea of all those. So you take the test is with the 24, you take a 12, and you do 200 reps with it, and that's one of the training sessions. You clean and press, and then you do 200 reps with the 12. And people go, why? And I'd be like, well, I'm a track coach. If you can't run one lap, I don't care how, okay, you're a 400-meter runner. I don't care what you run the 100-meter, the 200-meter. It's the 400. You've got to get to that. You got to get to the finish line.
Right.
Let's get to the finish line with 200 and then see what problems you have.
Yeah. And let me tell you, gentle listeners, the 100 rep snatch test is itself not the friendliest feeling thing, but those extra 100 reps are just a special source of misery. They really are.
Yeah. And people ask me how I did it, what I did, because you can put the weight down as many times as you want in the Secret Service test. I got to 100 reps just around, I could, back in the day, I could get to 100 reps around the 4-minute mark.
Yeah.
So between, let's say, I don't know if I know I never got under 4, but let's just say 4:15 is where I would come. I probably landed it. So that gave me 5 minutes and 45 seconds to get the next 100. So the thing is, when I got to the 100, I put the weight down, shook, and just started, getting as many. Obviously, I couldn't do 20, 20, 15, 15, 10, 10, 10, 10. But I could, it then became a very jazzy kind of thing. A set of 12, a set of 9, a set of,
it gets jazzy towards the end. That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, you just, whatever. I mean, the one thing I did have is it was just me and Anthony. But what I did have was I had the ability to just keep my eye on the prize. I have to get 200 reps here. And, I think we had a student counting.
Yeah.
So, it would be like, 176. And I'm pretty sure that student heard a lot of words that probably didn't.
They expanded their vocabulary that day.
Yes.
If anyone wants to see it, I have my Secret Service snatch test recorded on this YouTube channel. If anyone wants to see me suffer through that.
Yeah.
And I think I got 213 actually. So kind of cooked through it. But the funny thing, we're talking about warm-ups here, but I remember, my old coach, Brian Petty, he hated warm-ups, and we always disagreed about this. And his old saying, he was a bare knuckle boxing coach. He's like, how are you going to get warmed up when you get punched in the face? It's like, okay, Brian, I understand that.
Yeah.
But statistically, that's not usually what's happening, right? So I'm just going to do the warm-ups. But, it's funny. I've been in the snatch test scenario a couple times. Went down to Camp Lejeune to train the guys down there. It was with Mark Toomey and all them. And, boy, we were in, the van for 6 hours. And they made us, I don't know why they they already recruited us to go and train people, but they still decided, we're going to make you guys do the snatch test. So they made us hop out the van, right? After, being in there for 6 hours. And, it's probably about 100 degrees. It's so humid you can cut the air with a knife, and you got to whip out the snatch test with no warm-up. So, yeah, I think it is important to be able to do that sort of thing when you, I guess, are called to do it. But that's not normally how I would ever approach something like that, right? But it is good to be generally prepared that, if it's demanded of you, yes, hopefully you won't break, right? But if it's not demanded of you, do a couple light sets, warm things up, stretch a little bit. There you go, right? DJ says, I've seen your snatch test video, Pat. Excellent. Yeah, that one too was kind of spur of the moment. I went into Dragon Gym and the master was there, and he just I forget if it was he asked me or I asked him, but we just kind of spontaneously let's go do the Secret Service snatch test. Wasn't planned, just let's see if we got it, put it on film and cranked it out. And then again, one of those things, either our training's useful or it's not type of tests, right? Anyways, we're about out of time, but let me take this one real quick and then we'll say goodbye. Thomas wants to know, Dan, do you prefer using a single kettlebell for clean and press ladders
Yes.
or double?
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, you can do anything you want, but the reason you do the singles, it's because it's clean and press left, clean and press right, pull up, and so when you're doing the hard day, you clean the 24 150 times, so it's 150 cleans, and I think that is what it's odd. When I looked at the rite of passage when I was teaching, I would ask my students, "Did you do it clean and press, 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 or clean and press, clean and press, clean and press, clean and press?" And the students who said clean and press, clean and press, clean and press, those are the ones that always seem to have the skin, the hand squit, the skin didn't have those issues, and everything was pretty easy. Those that did the clean and press, 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 they usually look really good, but there was those other issues. The clean and press, single bell builds up, and the nice thing about it too, Thomas, is that you just have one bell. I would stick the bell in the back seat of your car, put the safety strap on it, because if you stop the car,
definitely do that.
You will. Otherwise, you're going to have 24 kilos. And just you go to a park, you go to a beach, like I did. I would say a quarter of my training sessions prepping for my RKC were, kind of a little bit in nature. And the reason I did that is somebody warned me that I'll be in the sun all day. And you need to make sure and grass and sand and concrete and asphalt. So I tried to kind of mix my conditions up a little bit. So I was ready for,
Yeah. Before we say farewell for this week, Dan, what are some updates? Any movement on the new Easy Strength book or?
Yeah. Easy Strength Omni book. If you go
the fat loss one, you had that one.
Oh yeah. That I don't know. It's doing whatever happens after I send it in.
Yeah, it is a bunch of question marks, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. If you go to danjohnuniversity.com/bookstore, you can get all my Kindles and PDFs now. And I think.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, I don't. I know I make fun of the company that everyone buys books from, but it's brutal what it does to authors. And I'm not in a place anymore that I can afford to have whatever that guy is, Bezos or whatever.
Take all your money, right?
He's got to give back a little bit. He's killing writing. And, they take, and so, if you're going to buy my books, danjohnuniversity.com/bookstore. Here's the deal. Can you see that right there?
Yeah, I see it.
So those are a whole bunch of my books that I got. But now we're getting charged to house the books. And so I bought my own books so that I could have them. I don't want to pay rent on my books.
No, of course not.
If that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. Well, help a brother out, people, and
So
go buy some of those delicious books.
Yeah. So if you come to my house, I'll
sign them for you. I saw Chris Harvey. We'll give a shout out to Chris. Made his way over to your place. Was that last week after?
You know Chris?
We're connected on the social media interwebs, and you mentioned it on the podcast, and I saw him post that very lovely picture afterwards. So we'll give a little shout out.
The gym's cleaned up, and I know you got a bounce, but Albion performed better down in Orlando this weekend, and then right after that, off to St. Mary's in Twickenham, London, and tonight is the last episode of Ted Lasso.
Okay, cool. Well, haven't seen that yet, but I've heard good things about the show, so we'll have to check it out at some point. Gentle listeners, thank you, as always, for tuning in. If you like what we're doing, you can help us grow by liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, and ranking the show on iTunes. Fare thee well. Bye-bye.